So we saw the Flash. We saw the Flash. The Flash is out after years in development hell. After a reshuffling of the deck at DC, several completely new ownership and everything else. The Flash finally zoomed into theaters, and we have thoughts. We have many thoughts.
I'm not sure I have any more thoughts. Honestly, I think it melted my brain. I can't think anymore.
Well, at the very least, I have thoughts.
Okay.
So we're here to talk about the Flash, and I do want to preface this by saying that we are going to be doing spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, then you're absolutely going to want to make sure you see it if you're concerned with spoilers before listening to our conversation. But certainly do come back if you decide that you need to jump off to prevent yourself from being spoiled. But before we get into our actual review, of course, we always on this show play the Rotten Tomatoes game, where in this case, actually, I think I'll play too because I don't know the answer. Okay. So for the first time ever, I will also play. Yeah, there's only 3 of us, so we might as well. Yeah. And so how it works is we're going to look at the tomato meter score and the audience score. The tomato meter is the critic score, and see which one of us gets closest to that without going over Price is Right rules. And whoever accomplishes that will win the game.
Thank God there's no dice involved. Cool.
No dice. Anybody want to start? I'll start.
Yeah, sure.
I'll say critics will be 65, and I think audience will be 80.
So for me, I'll go critics. I'm gonna guess 58. Audience is tricky because those DC fans
they're nuts.
Brigading these things. That's why I don't trust these audience meters.
The reactions I've seen from even our DC fans,
but also I wouldn't be surprised if Warner. I mean, they gave Tom Cruise that bag. Who knows what else they did for that audience? I'm gonna give 82.
So what was your critics again?
58.
58 and 82. Got you.
I'm going to say critics. I'm going to say 45 for the critics. And I'm going to say audience 75.
Okay, Kale, they're going very low. All right, so I will now look up the actual answer. Let's see. I mean, this is an interesting one because the Flash has had so much hype. But what's the reality? Here we go. Critics, 283 reviews, put the Flash at a 67.
Wow.
You said 65, so you're there.
Yeah. Now the audience, though, the audience score was a hefty 85%.
Y'all dumb as hell.
So I don't trust them.
So I think that would mean that I win. No. That would mean that I win. Because I had 65 and it was 67. Audience score, Tyler was closer, but not closer than I was on critics.
Yep.
So wow, this is a fun game.
Rigged again.
Yeah, imagine that. The guy that went first and reads out the answers. He won. He was the closest.
I genuinely didn't know. I didn't look before.
Scout's honor, right?
Fair enough. Anyway, The Flash is, according to James Gunn, one of the greatest superhero films ever made. It's one of Tom Cruise's favorite films. The man had to call Warner to let them know how amazing he thought it was, and he can't stop talking about it, right? So what did the Comics Pals think of The Flash? Well, I hate to say it, but I did not like this movie.
All right, good. I was afraid you were going to like it.
I
was going to lose respect.
Damn, that's unfortunate. This movie made me angry, actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Yep.
This
Yeah.
movie made me mad because I actually thought that there was a good movie somewhere in here. I thought that there were aspects of the movie that I enjoyed, that made me think, that actually affected me emotionally. I thought there were some strong emotional moments in the movie. But I don't think I've ever in my life seen a movie that felt like it was more bogged down by having so many responsibilities that don't relate to the movie itself. So many cameos and pop-ins and fan service and machinations that the movie has to get from point A to point B on, that I just couldn't find the soul of this film.
Yeah.
For most of it. I'm not saying there was no soul, but for most of it, it was buried, I thought.
Buried Allen, buried alien.
You
You get that joke? There's a reference in some comic book after Barry Allen dies where it's very clearly a blonde guy with a buzz cut, and he's in like a heaven or whatever. He's like, I can't remember my name. It was something like Buried Alien. Anyway.
So for me, I'll just read my letterbox review of this. I said, normally I'd complain about a $15 plus movie ticket, but in hindsight, it was the cheapest lobotomy I could have gotten. I hated this movie. I did not smirk. I did not laugh. I had no emotion in this movie at all. It did nothing for me. Besides make me angry. Some of the choices in plots of problems, the screen times give certain characters is a problem. The CG is a horrible issue. Possibly some of the worst special effects I've seen in a big budget movie in a long time. And I just don't think it's funny.
Oh, I've got some shit to say about that.
It is actively unfunny, honestly. And it feels nothing like what I know the character of the Flash to feel like. Yeah, it's almost like somebody just read the concept of, oh, this guy runs fast. That's the character, and that's it. I see no semblance of Barry Allen, the character in this movie. And honestly, if this is like the death of like the pre-DCU, good riddance, to be honest. But by the end of this movie, it seems like they still don't even know what they want to do. So yeah, no, I would I was about to review say I would not recommend this movie. Save your money. But I guess we'll get to that towards the end.
Hey, we haven't spoiled anything yet, so if people are still here that want to avoid spoilers, I think that's a great if that's your opinion, that's a great message to send.
It'll be on Max in 2 months.
I hated Ant-Man 3.
Yeah.
I like Ant-Man 3 now. This movie was sold on Michael Keaton. And man, they did him dirty.
Yeah.
This was a mess. and I found it impossible to separate Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
Out of it all, too. I don't know about you guys, but I hate them. They're a criminal, first of all. But also just the character of Barry Allen that Ezra plays is just abominable. It's a Big Bang Theory's like boomers version of a millennial or a Gen Zer. Like it's just, and then there were two of them through the whole film. And it wasn't even that, like that would be one thing if it were like, the concept of the movie, and this isn't a trailer, so it's not really spoilers. He goes back in time and meets his younger self. They make his younger self somehow far more annoying
Impressive.
than he is. And it's, oh my God, it is grating. It's nothing is funny. It's a mess. And frankly, if it weren't for this podcast, that would be enough of DC for me.
The guy next to me. First of all, I went on a 2:30 show on Friday.
And there was a guy next to you?
That's what I was
What
gonna say.
kind of pervert theater are you in?
Assigned seating, empty theater. Guy picked the seat next to me.
Oh,
Pissed.
he
Oh,
did
yeah,
that on
no.
purpose.
I came in.
He did
pissed.
that on purpose.
I started pissed. And also my theater, I guess, had the Spider-Verse issue with dialogue being low, but they didn't change it back. so dialogue was just extra loud for me.
Oh yeah, okay. That's what happened to me too.
Yeah, it's like they made the fix for Spider-Verse manually and they just never reversed it. Because that's what was happening in my theater. And I actually left the theater, talked to someone about it, and they were like, "No, it'll fix itself." It didn't. So
No, it's just that everyone's screaming, and that's
it could be. Could very much be. Yeah. Boy.
Let's get into it.
Yeah.
So again, if you don't want any spoilers, now would be a great time for you to drop off, watch the movie, and come back and listen to the rest of our conversation. But rolling right along, the movie begins with, truthfully, like one of the most insufferable sequences that I've ever seen, which features Ezra just simply picking up his breakfast order, getting into an argument with the barista. I don't know what the worker. A very, very obnoxious conversation in general.
Yeah.
And then has to go solve Batman's problems. Not in Central City. So my first complaint within 10 minutes of the movie, because that's how long they waited to put action in it, was, hey, where are the rogues? Why is the Flash stopping crime in Gotham when Batman is there and presumably doesn't need help by and large to save Gotham? He has 57 Robins and he himself is an incredible hero. Why does he need the Flash?
You wouldn't think so, the way this whole thing shakes out.
Fair. Batman, Ben Affleck's Batman is, in the movie for the first portion, and he came off really bad.
Yeah.
Really, really bad. That can't possibly be the same Batman from Batman versus Superman, who was completely smoking villains. Like, it seemed like no one could stop him. But in this movie, he almost lost. If it wasn't for the Flash, he would have lost.
Against Falcone's son.
Right. What?
Nobody.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Batman can't hold one person's weight.
That was crazy. I thought it was disrespectful to Batman, but I also thought it was disrespectful to the Flash. In his own movie, how come he can't fight his own rogues? Just one.
What rogues, first of all? There's no villain in this movie. Oh, Zod, sort of. Yeah,
but like, it could have been any rogue, right? Just to show them. Just to show how the Flash handles problems in Central City. Has this person ever dealt with any of the enemies? Have they ever come up? It was bizarre. Putting that aside.
And that's a big aside.
I know. The one time that it was very, very difficult for me to watch this movie and not put the Ezra aspect outside of my mind was when he was saving the babies. Or, the character, yes.
For
the character. Was when...
He being Barry. Ezra's pronouns are they, them. Let's get that out of the way. If we're addressing he, we're talking about Barry.
There you go. Thank you. Exactly. So whenever the Flash is saving those babies, I was like, no, you're putting babies in microwaves. Okay. You put babies in microwaves, but the real human, Ezra, put bullets in babies' mouths. So that was weird to me, and that took me out of the movie. At every other point, it was whatever. But that whole sequence was just straight up dumb. It didn't help me at all to understand how the Flash's powers work relative to life around him, which I thought was a huge problem in this movie, because I still don't get it. Is it that everything around him is slow and he's real fast? Because if that's the case, sometimes things are moving at the speed that he is as well. So like the perfect example, everything that happened in that whole 30-minute opening or 20-minute opening happened in the frame of time that Flash, Barry Allen, was away from getting his bagel or whatever his meal was. That doesn't make sense because he interacted with people who don't move fast.
Yeah.
And there were things that he had 3 different conversations as the Flash with Batman and Wonder Woman and Alfred while the guy was making his bagel, and Barry, the secret identity, was supposed to be in the bathroom. Like, what?
Ridiculous. I thought that was just absolutely silly.
And then the CGI of it all. Like, what a fucking uncanny valley cartoon mess. Like,
those babies, man. It looked like it was the Ally McBeal baby.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
It's somehow worse.
Worse, yeah.
What
and
a
I
call
listen.
out.
I'll put it out there. I found a copy of this film, and it was hard to tell if that was the version quality or if it was the actual film. It was bad.
Can confirm it was the film.
Man.
Andy Muschietti said that the CG, particularly during the Speed Force sequences, when they were in the Speed Force and seeing like characters around them when he was traveling through time, that was deliberate. That it looked like Celebrity Deathmatch. Like it it just looked ridiculous.
Get it on.
Look, you create art. If you're telling me that was your choice as an artist, as a creator, I can't say that I understand it. It didn't work for me.
Yeah.
I didn't get it.
Yeah, that was copium. That was a copium response. That was like, all right.
Yeah. There's, and not to, just because we're here, there's a scene in later on in the film, that's like the big glory moment or whatever, where we see the multiverses, and there's a section of the unfilmed, could have been, was it Tim Burton Superman?
Yeah.
With Nicolas Cage as Superman. It's this long-haired Nicolas Cage as Superman, supposedly, fighting a giant spider. And they, at first, they only show like the back of Superman. I was like, okay, I know what this is. This is a good Easter egg for like me and people who know. But then he fights the spider and he turns around to see what's going on. And the comic person, know that that's supposed to be Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
And it was the worst approximation, and I say that very specifically, approximation of Nicolas Cage I have ever seen.
It was Luke Skywalker in first season of Mandalorian deepfake technology. But worse. Somehow the technology did not improve. It went backwards. Barry must have went backwards in time and got the deepfake technology that way. It just wasn't good. And that same deepfake technology was used whenever both Barrys were in the same shot together.
Man.
And there was always one of them that was deepfaked, and it looked bad. Like fucking Lindsay Lohan in The Parent Trap looked better. Like they managed to pull that off, but they couldn't pull it off in this multi-million-dollar movie. It's like, guys, I know the technology exists. It's not there yet. I'm sorry. For a big budget movie, it's not there yet. We haven't gotten that good at it. It's just, it was much like Barry in this movie. This felt rushed. Like the technology felt rushed in this movie a lot.
And I think it also collapsed under the weight of there being just an insane amount of CGI. I know that a lot of these movies, by and large, CGI, right?
Yeah.
But like, damn, it wasn't just backgrounds. It wasn't just locations. It wasn't just like, Thanos. Oh, wow, yeah, he's not there, but everybody else is. It was everything you saw practically.
Yeah. And
like Ian McKellen wept because he had to talk to a tennis ball on a green screen during
Lord
The
of the
Hobbit.
Rings. Yeah. Oh yeah. The Hobbit.
He cried.
He did.
Apparently,
He did
yeah.
because he's a classically trained Shakespearean actor.
Yeah.
He got into acting so he could act with
Yeah.
people,
It's a bastardization of his art form. Yeah.
and he was like, "This is not what I do."
That's fair.
Man, he would have dropped dead if he was in this film. Like,
Yeah.
it's insane.
If it sounds like we're being harsh, we are. And the reason is because this movie was promoted in such a way that they really, really tried to make us believe that this is going to be, the best thing since sliced bread. And like I said, there were aspects of it that I enjoyed, and we'll get to that because I don't want to just rag on a movie for an hour.
Well, I don't mind.
But you know what? We're honest, and we're going to be honest. And I did not think this was a good movie. I just didn't. And so we'll continue to talk about it, and we're going to hit all the major points. But don't be surprised if this is the tone. Unfortunately.
And before we leave the CG talk, one last thing: let actors die. Like bringing up George Reeves, Christopher Reeves, Adam West in this. Let them go. Like it's just it feels icky to me.
All right. If you guys want to talk about that, then let's get into it. I am not for deep faking dead people at all in anything. I think that's nasty. And I get why they wanted to do it at the same time. If this movie was called Crisis on Infinite Earths or something like that, and it was a movie in which it really, really felt like you could get value, like genuine value, not like, hey, look at all this, fan service. Look at all this like superhero porn that we're going to show you now. If they really had something hot, I would look past it, judge the action, but say, hey, you know what? That actually was cool. What was the reason that they had to do that in this movie called The Flash, where all they showed practically was other heroes? They showed us, what was it, like 4 Supermen or something? 3, 4 Supermen?
3 and 1 Supergirl.
Yeah.
One other Supergirl, yeah.
And I'm just talking about in that the multiverse scene.
Yeah.
We got Adam West for no reason at all. An old version of the Flash.
It's Jay Garrick. Yeah.
Yeah, Jay Garrick. Thank you, Jay Garrick. All of that.
To be fair, that was new because there's never been a Jay Garrick before
Sure.
the CW TV
I
show.
think that was the CW Jay Garrick too, that actor as well.
I don't think so.
I think I just read about this yesterday that wasn't the case.
It wasn't.
Yeah, I don't think so. Because there were anyway.
But that's fine. But my problem is that it didn't need to happen. There's no narrative reason why they had to show us those things and blow that kind of thing off in a movie called The Flash. I just don't think it was necessary. And to do something that cheap in a movie that really didn't need it or deserve it, it makes it even worse.
Especially because
And it looked bad.
it looked bad, but especially because like the CW did it. They did a Crisis on Infinite Earths, and they honored all of that legacy way better. And you can say all you want about the CW quality. They put the heart into it. And frankly, I'm not convinced it's not better. They had fucking Brandon Ruth, who's supposed to be the Christopher Reeve sort of, that character, in modern times or whatever. That guy still exists. He's still around. Why wasn't he standing there? Why did they have to use Christopher Reeve? Why didn't they use Melissa Benoit in place of the Supergirl, whose name unfortunately I'm not sure of. like we would have understood that. We know what you're doing. I'm blown away.
I don't want to like. I fall short of saying it was disgusting because that feels heavy, but it didn't feel like it was honoring.
Yeah.
To what Kale said. So yeah, I didn't like that at all. But I'll tell you what I did like. Whenever the movie got to the point where Barry decided he was going to go back in time after his conversation with Bruce, which I also thought was okay, like it was a decent talk. And I like the fact that Bruce, despite his parents obviously being dead as well, he was like, "Look, man, that's not the way. You don't do that." I thought
He
the dialogue, right?
He understands the reality of it. Yeah.
I thought the dialogue could have been a lot better when Ben Affleck's Batman was telling him those things, but whatever. When he goes back to the past and he meets himself and he meets his mother, that part of the movie really, really like that. I started to get invested because one of the things that we talked about in Flashpoint that could have been better was that, well, Barry's parents weren't characters before Flashpoint. They were just, he had parents, that's it. And the book didn't have much time to establish the relationship. This movie had a little bit more time. And I thought that they really did a good job with nailing Barry's relationship with his mother, which we never see in these kinds of movies. So I like that. And I really, really felt for him. I thought about my aunt. I thought about how good she's been to me. I thought about what I would give or what I would do to bring her back if I had the power to do that. And I'd do anything. So I was able to connect with Barry's pain because of being able to see his relationship with his mom. And I thought that was good.
There were a lot of times where I felt like this film was an outline that became a script. But now that you're saying that, and I mean that in the way of like, this happens and then this happens and then this happens, and they just threw some dialogue on it. Now that you're saying that, I'll agree to a point that the crux of the movie revolves around his relationship with his mother. And while Ezra was absolutely grating on screen no matter what he did, so 200% of the movie, the on-screen chemistry between the woman who played his mother and Ezra played Barry's mother,
Maribel Verdú.
It was great. She felt like a mom.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, when he leaves her for the last time, I gotta say, she gave him that mom hug, and I went, damn, I miss my mom.
I lost it.
I didn't feel anything at all for that, honestly. In fact, I think the end of the movie pretty much posits that Barry's a better person if his mom's dead.
I mean, yeah.
So I was like, all right, well, she exists and she created an asshole. All right, good job, mom. I wasn't really feeling like. I think because I just dislike Barry as much, I did not care for what Barry cared for. You know.
Yeah.
So even though his mom seems like a great mom, and you know, I wasn't invested in Barry enough to then care about the thing he sought after in the movie, which is his mom and saving his mom.
And I'm ultimately, I am with you. I only say that because I do recognize like there were small pockets of times where I was like, where I caught myself before a cynical thought, you know, going where I'm just watching the film and I'm in it. And I remember being in it for the mom. But you know, those moments and others that we'll get to, but they don't last long, unfortunately.
Very fleeting, yeah.
And
much like the Flash.
And that was something that I was super frustrated by. was the fact that I thought there was a heart there. There was a soul in the movie. It existed, but it got bogged down in CG and Batman stuff and just random things that really didn't need to be there. Quite frankly, I think this movie is more than one movie in one movie. I think that there should have been a Flash movie in which he does normal Flash stuff, and we learn about his feelings about his parents and all that good stuff, and then a sequel in which he makes the decision to go back in time and do everything. It just felt bloated in a movie that didn't need to feel bloated.
I like Kyle Chandler, the guy that played Barry's dad, but this was uncharacteristically awful.
He was played by Ron Livingston.
Oh, the other Kyle Chandler.
I can see how you get them mixed up. Actually,
they're the same guy. I mean, they're not literally, but they look exactly the same.
Yep.
But even still, like I've seen that guy do a lot of stuff, which I could be confusing for Kyle Chandler, but I know there is a difference between the
He's
two.
from Office Space, I think, is the one people remember him from. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that guy. And this felt bad.
He had nothing to do. Like a lot of the people here have nothing to chew on in terms of acting. We'll get to Supergirl, wasted. Like the parents, wasted. The Snyderverse Justice League characters, wasted. Although Alfred had some fun. We had more fun in Alfred in this movie than a lot of other times we've seen Alfred. But
I thought that every character in the movie who was a pre-established character, someone we'd already seen, was worse here than anywhere else.
Yeah. Yep.
I am a big fan of Ben Affleck's Batman. I really, really like him, and I thought he did a great job in everything else. I don't think he had the opportunity to do a great job in this movie.
And it felt like Ben Affleck was realizing that as he was acting.
His 2 minutes in Suicide Squad was way better than this.
I don't even think he's credited as being in this movie because he wasn't in the credits that rolled, and then even on IMDb, he doesn't, or rather, I'm sorry, Rotten Tomatoes, where they list the cast and crew, he's not there. So I don't know why that is.
Sounds like a choice on his end, honestly.
It probably is, because we also many moons ago discussed an interview that he did in which he talked about, not really being happy with the way that things ended with DC. And this is the way they ended. So
it has to
he's
be
on IMDb
right around this time.
He's on.
Oh, he is on IMDb, but I don't think he was in the credits that rolled during the movie.
Interesting.
I saw last night someone posted a screenshot of the credits and he wasn't there, but maybe I'm being misled. But in any event, Michael Keaton, we're going to talk about him a lot. Played some people's favorite Batman of all time. And I don't think that that's an unreasonable opinion. In this movie, he's Batman. He's, Bruce Wayne, but so limited in what he's allowed to do. He's presented as a nut. Like he's kind of like I guess like maybe a Howard Hughes is a decent example.
Fair.
Type of rich person who is reclusive and stays at home. He grew out his hair. He got weird. And nothing like you expect Bruce Wayne to be. Was it weird to you guys that he had all the answers for the multiverse, that he knew everything about it, even though by and large, by all accounts, there are no other real superheroes in this world? He probably hasn't encountered any of that.
Well, we know that this Batman at least fixed Gotham, so he's maybe a little more
knowledgeable.
Adept, but we don't live in that world enough to actually know the status of the world. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I think the implication of this Bruce Wayne is that, or at least this is where I took it, because the film doesn't really do a good job of telling you why things are the way they are. The the guy that played Alfred in the Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher's films died a few years ago now.
Yeah.
My assumption is that it's been, this amount of time in that world. And since Gotham is, a haven now, he spends his time in his library and he's become reclusive and he can think about all sorts of things. And I don't even think he had all the answers of like the multiverse as it is. It was more just like the concept.
I don't know how he would even know about in my mind, if there are no other superheroes and no multiverse stuff going on, it's hard for me to wrap my head around why he would be able to he was exactly right. And I just don't get how he would know that. But I digress.
It's that thing of like, well, we don't have superheroes, but we know about the idea of the multiverse.
I guess. But our guesses are as good as anyone's as to what's correct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I sort of think it's just, that's what they wanted it to be. So that's, it's a hot tub time machine thing.
Yeah. I thought that was weird. But I guess I enjoyed it. I guess I enjoyed that Michael Keaton was there as Batman. I would have preferred if he had his own movie because I thought he was saddled with, not great stuff to do. And playing second fiddle, third fiddle, I guess, to two Barrys.
To a worse actor.
At that, yeah. I wanted to like it so much more, the Batman aspects. I really did. It was too much. He shouldn't have even been in the movie, maybe. But I wanted to like it more than I was able to.
And they kill him. Like it feels so unceremonious for Keaton's character.
It felt, and there were times when Barry specifically is like talking to his work colleagues, or when our Barry, not my Barry,
Hashtag.
our Barry is with younger Barry's roommates, and then sort of that death scene where it was like, this feels like a parody of a superhero movie. It feels like a not another teen movie superhero movie. Like, it just took it to levels of just like, this is absurd.
You know how like when we saw Infinity War and we saw those characters die, like it was really crazy.
Yeah.
And it was shocking. Well, what if they showed us that and then they immediately showed it again, and then again, and then again, and then again? That's what this felt like. By the time, because they showed Batman and Supergirl dying so many times that I stopped caring. And I can't imagine how that's a good thing. I got the point. I knew what they were trying to do. It's the point was fine. But even the first death that Batman has, right, where the ship explodes, his plane, the Batplane explodes, we didn't even get a facial react. Like, we didn't even get to see, like, this is Batman dying on screen. That's never happened in a movie.
Yeah, they don't play that up.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
He just like he just crashes. That's it.
To this day, when I see Spider-Man die, I tear up from Infinity War. I can't handle it. I didn't give a damn that Batman died. It was trivial.
Well, now you know how I feel when that clip of Spider-Man dying comes up.
But at least, even if you don't like that, they tried to make it matter.
Yeah.
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 Can we talk about how useless Supergirl is in this movie?
I
liked it.
I liked her. I think similar to Michael Keaton, I hope she gets another chance with something else somewhere down the line. I hope they see her in this and they go, damn, we need to put her in everything. Because I liked her.
I didn't. And I'm not sure it's the actress's fault. That's Sasha Calle, I believe.
I don't know how to say her last name, unfortunately, but yeah.
Callie could be.
Callie. Yeah. But I don't know if it's Sasha's fault, but like her role can be diminished to monotone talking and screaming, and then jumping between the two.
That's fucking all Barry was.
I know, and there's an issue with it, and
Like-
like she is just a MacGuffin for Zod, who is just Michael Shannon in a CG mask. Like he's not even there. I don't think Shannon was ever on set for anything. She's wasted. Like she dies. Like we see her die multiple times. Like you said, like Keaton's thing. But like at least with Keaton's Batman, they can try and bait me with, like, oh, this is Keaton's Batman that's dying. I just met this character, this Supergirl. I feel nothing for her. That her the emotional weight of her is put on the shoulders of caring about the fact that she cares for a Kal-El that doesn't exist in this world. What does that mean? I don't like it. Telling.
I don't know.
Again.
I came at it a little differently. I cared about her because she was captive, and I thought that was horrible. And I was hoping she was going to get some revenge, and kick some ass.
No.
Which she kicks ass, and I loved watching her fight. That's another thing. I thought her fighting, and when she fought Zod and all that, I thought that looked awesome. That was just like Man of Steel. I still think Man of Steel has some of the best action in any superhero movie. But compare that to the way the Flash looked when he was doing things. I was like, what the hell is this? This is garbage. In reference to the Flash, when he was running around, he looked dumb. When he was doing anything with his powers, he just looked completely silly. When Supergirl was beating the shit out of everybody, I was like, yo, where's this movie?
Yeah, I wish I
want that. I want that.
Yeah. The way Barry runs is like, is it supposed to look like a speed skater for real life? Like it's just...
let's start with the suit. That suit looked like when it looked like when an artist like tries to take on their own thing, and they just give it weird angles and they try to take a different approach. It just like, it looked weird.
Dude looked like he was cosplaying as a dog's dick. Like it just didn't look. It's just this weird red rubbery thing sticking out.
Wow, got that far, but I can't disagree.
It didn't look comfortable. It didn't look like it could move. And I know like that was supposed to be a joke in the movie, a recurring joke.
And guess what? It wasn't funny.
No, it wasn't. And half of the time it was only in CG. There was a couple only the static shots of the Flash were him in an actual suit. Eternals, not the best movie, but the way they showed super speed in that movie, I thought was very good. Probably the best super speed I've seen in a movie. Even Quicksilver in the X-Men movies, it's more akin to this, but that was more entertaining.
That was cool. That was fun.
Listen, I'll go out on a limb here. The CW Flash is a lot better than this.
Yeah. And also, how do you feel about the caloric intake being a lot more like this is a hard rule for the Flash?
I don't hate it in theory.
Sure.
But the way they do it was just, it was obnoxious, just like everything else in this film.
Yeah. I don't like the Apple Watch fuel gauge thing. It's ugly on the suit.
Go back to the babies, like he specifically does a fake out instead of like, going to save all the babies while he's hungry and using his powers and being a hero. He vores himself on a fucking vending machine and we have to watch him eat like a fucking Twitch streamer.
Yeah.
It was disgusting.
Yeah. I'll watch The Whale if I want to see that. Thank you.
It was awful.
Let's shift gears. So you might have noticed that in the promotion for the film, the only villain that we saw was obviously Michael Shannon Zod, who to me was the most harmed in this movie, because I think that General Zod from Man of Steel is the best villain of the DC movies so far. And Go ahead.
I want to be clear here. General Zod was the most harm. Michael Shannon did fine. My man phoned it in and he got a massive paycheck.
You
He
see
is
his response on it?
fine.
He's like, yeah, I didn't really
No.
find that fulfilling.
Yeah. Yeah. He talked about it.
That dude got away with it.
But he got away with a bag that they gave him to just do nothing really, which was sad. But so I thought coming into this movie, oh, okay, yeah, obviously the second Barry is bad eventually and will become Reverse Flash or something like that. Well, that didn't exactly happen. He does eventually become sort of bad, and he is kind of the main antagonist of the movie, if you will. I guess Barry ultimately is the antagonist of the movie. And there's a sequence where the two Barrys are, they realize that they can't stop Zod from winning. At least old Barry realizes. Our Barry. Young Barry can't accept it.
Yeah.
So he keeps doing it over and over and over again. We keep being forced to watch these characters die. Now, there's a point at which he gets stabbed. And he gets stabbed in his arm, and, it's there. And then he keeps it there for some crazy reason. And then the next time they go back to this sequence, he gets stabbed again. And he keeps getting stabbed in different parts of his body until his entire body is obscured in what looks like an armor, but it's actually these pieces of what he was stabbed with just all over his body.
Yeah, it's like a Kryptonian super blade or whatever.
Some kind of weapon.
Yeah.
Of all the villains that the Flash has, of all the things you could have done, introduced, given us something interesting, maybe Professor Zoom, I don't care, whatever it is. That was not on my bingo card. And it might be the very worst of any type of villain presentation that I've seen, other than Galactus in Fantastic Four 2. Complete garbage.
At least we didn't have to look at the utter horror that would have been the Fantastic Four 2 Galactus. All we got was the shadow or whatever.
Yeah.
That listen, that redeems that. I sort of found it compelling. But the way it's executed was bad.
The alternate Barry is debilitated after a gunshot wound, right? In the knee.
Yeah.
But
that's right.
He can have the entire 100% of his body pierced with Kryptonian armor for eons and just laugh at him. He's just shrugging it off.
To be fair, the first time you're shot probably really fucking sucks.
Sure, but are we supposed to believe he's in a constant state of phase for particular? Just I don't like the how of it was set up and then ignored.
Yeah.
And then speaking of
that's it.
Of Dark Flash and Reverse Flash and stuff, they do not address or even care about who killed Barry's mom. It's not touched.
Oh my God, you're so right.
They don't address. The whole issue is, my dad didn't do it. How do I save my dad? They don't talk about who killed my mom. He doesn't care.
So it very well fucking could have been his dad.
It could have been a Reverse Flash. It's not brought up at all in the movie. She's stabbed in the heart.
Man, I didn't even clock that.
So first of all, Tyler, I'm so glad you brought that up. I did not clock that either. The movie's right there. That's the movie.
Yes.
That's the movie.
Who killed my mom?
That's the mystery.
No, you know who the villain is? A can of tomatoes instead. That's what it is.
If I know for a fact that my dad didn't do it, which he does, he does know it for a fact. Who did?
Yeah.
Oh shit! It was Reverse Flash I wanted to make you a better hero. I know because I've looked at all the different multiverses. The only way you become the hero you need to be is if your mother dies.
Yeah.
That's a movie.
In Andy Muschietti, I guess, in Flash Press, he said, somebody brought that up to him, like after the movie's come out. And he's like, well, yeah, it's probably got to be Reverse Flash, right?
Jesus Christ.
Why would you say that?
This
That's
dude
how you
didn't
tell
even
us?
make a movie.
I was mad, man. This movie made me mad.
And you know what's doubly upsetting about that, Tyler, is the fact that I don't mind that. Like, if that's what you're going to tell me, that, wow, yeah, we're going to address this later. Okay. There's nothing in the movie that even makes you, the watcher, think about who killed her. They don't care. The movie is not invested in that.
If I see my mom stabbed in the heart, I know my dad didn't do it. I want to get my dad. I want to get my dad off. I want to get my dad exonerated.
I was wondering when that joke was going to come up.
Yeah. And sure, that's the thing. But that would bother me. Like, who killed my mom? Like, it's just.
Yeah, the whole film is framed around. No, it's not even framed around who killed my mom. It's that I have to stop the murder. If she didn't go to the grocery store, or if my dad didn't have to go to the grocery store, then she won't die. Never once does it cross Barry's mind, oh, I should stick around and see who killed her.
Yeah. Also, like, how is his dad going to stop that?
This dude is supposed to be a crime scene investigator. And this motherfucker never even thinks, oh, I should find out who the criminal is. Hey, listen, I have my rating. I'm done.
Yeah.
I was going to be a little more generous. I'm out.
All right, we'll wrap this up in a moment. Wow,
it's a damning plot hole.
I cannot believe that.
That is not addressed. The question of who killed my mom does not come up in a movie where his mom gets killed.
What the hell have we missed?
And I'm sure there are people who will hear this and say, well, guys, that's called, storytelling. They're going to get to that.
Yeah, bad storytelling.
But
what?
Even in the Flashpoint comic book, which this was sort of based on, there is an encounter with Reverse Flash. I get them confused, Professor Zoom and Reverse Flash. So if I'm wrong,
you're right.
Reverse
Flash.
It was
Reverse Flash. Yeah.
Okay. There is a sequence in that book where we do see Reverse Flash, and he does talk about, like, yeah, you did this because, blah, 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 blah. The way it's framed in the book is different than the movie, in the sense that in the movie, we already know, and Barry already knows, that he, slipped into another time or another reality.
The solution's there too. Instead of the reverse Dark Flash, I think he's called in this movie. Instead of him pushing Barry out of the Chrono Bowl, or whatever the hell they called it, they could have just showed him killing his mom. Like, the same outcome comes out, but except you have an answer to a huge question. Not touched.
Even again, not to keep going back to the CW show, but I mean, like everything else surrounding this character, for some reason, this is the story they have to keep regurgitating. They go back to it at least once a season.
Yep. There are multiple people killed his mom.
And multiple versions of Barry at different points in the show see it.
Yep.
Like, there are points where Barry's watching himself as a kid, trying to figure out who killed his mom.
This movie made me want to watch the CW show more.
I just
good for
feel
Grant
like
Gustin, I guess.
It's canceled, so not anymore.
I know. They
really?
ended it the way they wanted it to.
Oh, I thought you said Grant Gustin got canceled.
No.
I was like, what?
Well, they ended it the way they wanted it to, but the CW verse is over.
Yeah,
right?
it's done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was 9 seasons too, so.
Flash was 9 seasons.
Yeah, dog.
Damn, they got that off. Wow. Yeah, I mean, if it's storytelling, then I think there's some aspect of that question that the movie would want the viewer to ask. The movie doesn't seem concerned with that, so that's unfortunate. To be honest, there's really not a lot more to say.
I do have one more.
Yeah, shoot.
This movie was supposed to be the reset for the, or it was talked about as being the reset for the DC universe going forward for movies, or it is part of it. You know, it's part of that new DCU. The end of the movie, the post credit scene with Barry and Aquaman is the most obvious. Let's put the scene in because we have two more. We have another movie to sell that we're just gonna probably drop afterwards, but we need to explain it because Barry's like, "Yeah, this universe has changed, but not you, Aquaman. You're the same because we already made that movie." It's so blatant, and I don't know what this even like the last scene with George Clooney, like he's Bruce Wayne again. What does that mean?
That was fun.
Does that mean he's the Batman for Brave and the Bold?
No,
because
don't be ridiculous.
Andy Muschietti's directing that now. You know,
it doesn't mean anything.
I know, and that's a problem.
This is not. Do not fall for the fucking banana in the tailpipe. This is not the lead-in to the new DC. It's not.
Yeah, I felt like they had to sort of hype it up because they had to sell the tickets. You know what I mean? Which is what I've been saying since the movie was announced as still coming out. Like, they're going to hype this up as being important, but it's not going to be important. But they can't tell us that because they need us to go see the movie.
The Flash movie, as far as I know, for years before there was a James Gunn involved, was going to be a Flashpoint type movie.
Yeah.
So
from day one.
Yeah. So if that's the case, then the ending of the movie was always going to involve some sort of goofiness like what we saw.
Yep.
I put no stock at all into it. The reason why George Clooney was there is because Ben Affleck has no interest in ever appearing again as Batman. And so if they decide that they want to return to that version of Bruce Wayne, now that's George Clooney. That's it.
And they won't.
Right.
Like, the only reason they got George Clooney to do it is because he didn't have to show up in the suit.
And you know how I know that I'm right? Because if I was wrong, that would mean that there would be two Batmen in the same universe, because George Clooney is not playing Batman in Brave and the Bold. And it's not even intended to be the same Ben Affleck Batman from the DC universe that we've just been watching.
It's a new Batman.
It's a new Batman altogether. They're casting and everything.
It is not even supposed to be George Clooney's Batman. You know what I mean?
No.
Yeah, right. It's it's just another Batman that, you know, has a kid and all that good stuff.
Brain hurt.
No, don't overthink it. It's not worth it. It's not. Sean gave the perfect metaphor.
Nothing
because that's what this film is. It's a banana in the tailpipe. This car is going to explode. It's nothing.
So with the announcement that Andy Muschietti is doing Brave and the Bold,
I'm not going to see that shit.
That's not I don't know if that's a good sign.
You know what? This is a movie in which I don't hold any aspect of anything we didn't like. I don't hold it against anybody that was creatively involved. I don't think this was a movie that suffered from a lack of creative ambition. I think it's a movie that suffered from over-ambition on the part of executives who needed this movie to be multiple things at the same time. And I don't think it's fair to Andy Muschietti. I don't think it's fair to even Ezra Miller, who I don't care for, but I don't think it's fair to them. I don't think it's fair to Michael Keaton or anybody else that this movie was this way.
I mean, I just don't think it was shot well, though. That's the thing, you know? Like, that's still a director choice.
100%. But, you know, I just feel like, you know, the same way people always say, oh, well, you can't hold it against the Marvel, you know, creators because, you know, they have all these overseers and people they need to answer for. This is the one DC movie I've ever seen where I feel like that reprieve or that grace applies. I would like to see what Andy Muschietti wants to do next, because I thought there were aspects of this that were good, but the stuff that wasn't is very clearly, in my opinion, stuff that came from up there. He didn't make his own Flash movie. He made Warner Brothers Flash movie that they wanted.
Did you catch his Hitchcockian cameo at the end there?
I didn't.
He was the one that was about to eat that glizzy, and then Flash takes it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'll give one thing to this movie. I like the score. I like
Okay. I hated it.
really okay. I liked how it felt like a Burton. It felt like somebody mimicking Burton because they had
That
to
was
do
my
the keep
problem.
thing.
That was my problem.
And I like that kind of swelly kind of score. It's not modern at all. It's not a modern Hans Zimmer score. It is kind of weird. It doesn't feel like an MCU score. It feels like something of old, and I enjoyed that, even though it was very much we have Tim Burton at home.
Yeah. I did not like the score. There were like in most movies, the score, unless it's like exceptional, is something I don't even clock.
Sure.
That's just not how my brain works. In this, it bugged me. I think because it was trying to be an homage to all of those things all at once. And it felt like it was going all the time. And it was too much.
Fair.
All right.
And sorry, I
Final
meant to say
thoughts.
Danny Elfman's score, not Tim Burton's.
Right.
You said Hans Zimmer. But you meant Danny Elfman.
I meant it doesn't sound like Hans Zimmer. What would be
Right.
a modern thing?
He said we have Tim Burton at home. He meant we have Danny Elfman at
Yeah.
home. Final thoughts. I didn't like this movie. I really genuinely went into it hoping to love it. I didn't go to it wanting to dislike it. I didn't go into it thinking, well, I don't like Ezra, so I'm not going to like this movie. No, I wanted to like it. And I just didn't. I feel like this was a movie that was the most obvious made by committee movie of all time. People said that about Age of Ultron, but this one to me was far more egregious than that.
Yeah.
I think this movie had severe problems. I think there was a lack of thought about certain aspects that really should have been considered. And I think based on the CG quality, it needed probably another 6 months or more before it was ready to be seen by people. I have a very, very hard time understanding how James Gunn says this is one of the greatest superhero movies he's ever seen. And there are a lot of really intelligent people whose opinions I respect that say they really like this movie. And I don't judge what other people enjoy. That's up to you. I don't understand.
Things we were told privately by
Yeah.
big people. I don't get it.
Oh, I do. You're invested,
Well, but Gail Simone's not. She said she loved it.
Did she get a thanks at the end?
I don't see why she would, but I don't know.
think she's
But
ever,
I don't think Gail Simone's that type of person anyway. Gail Simone is cool.
All right.
She liked it, and I believe that. It's just hard to understand.
Especially as a writer, I don't see how it makes sense. All right.
This is a 4 because it's a 4 because I really bought in on the Barry relationship with his mother. That hooked me. I really wish they had done more, not just with them, but like more emotional stuff in the movie, more depth. And it felt schlocky in a lot of ways.
Out of 10.
This was out of me. 4 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm a 3 out of 10 on this. I couldn't find anything redeeming, really. It's not lower because I didn't walk out. You know what I mean? Like if I walk out of a movie, then you're at like a 1.
I've only done that one time.
But what was it?
It was the movie Haywire with Gina Carano.
Oh wow, good fucker. Mine was George of the Jungle. Yep.
Huh.
Mine was Cat in the Hat.
Valid.
That was a
Horrifying
weird-ass
movie.
Yeah. I have no such qualms. 0 out of 10. This movie,
Hell yeah.
especially looking back now that we've had this conversation, the times where I felt something in the movie where it's, running me along the track, it's minecart carnage, it's leading me to an abyss.
You're in the Indiana Jones minecart to the Temple of Doom.
It's funky. It's fucking Donkey Kong, and I'm slipping off the rails. Like the music was too much. The characters were nothing. The story ends up being nothing.
Yeah.
And I genuinely cannot forgive that. And I do not see how there can be a future in any rational world for this film. But I know it's going to happen. And I'm furious about it.
One kudos goes out
No,
for me. Well,
not for me.
I'll give one. Marketing. They really put their whole bussy into trying to
I
make
think
this
that's the
safe
problem
face.
with the whole thing.
Yeah.
I will say I probably would have enjoyed this movie more had I never seen one single trailer. Because then at least it would have been like, oh shit, Michael Keaton's
Yeah,
Batman
agreed.
is back. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Wow. I
God,
felt like
sorry.
no, that's all.
I cannot stress enough how annoying having two Ezra Millers on screen. I know we've sort of talked about it. We didn't go as in depth as I wanted to go on it. It's having two Sheldon Coopers screaming in your ear for 2.5 hours.
I'd prefer that.
It's okay.
Oh, you know what? You remind me of something else I really liked about the movie.
Oh fuck.
I was ready to end it. So the movie does something that I thought was pretty slick. It circumvents having to be an origin story by showing us Barry's origin through the young Barry. We see how he got his powers. We see his relationship with his parents before they were gone. We see all this stuff. And I thought that was a very, very smart way to bake an origin story into a movie that really doesn't need one. Or that doesn't want to bog itself down with one. So I really liked that. And the other thing I really liked was that seeing how annoying he was as a young person made old Barry change. And from sort of around the time that like the powers shift, old Barry becomes closer, not the same, certainly not, closer to the Barry of the comics that I'm aware of. And that he's a little bit more serious than he was in his other appearances as, Ezra's other appearances as Flash. So I like that.
Can I bring up one more thing too? One more thing that
if you liked it.
A plot hole that I hate. So we see Barry's origin and his makeshift suit when he's trying to save people from Zod's thing in the original continuity, Man of Steel. And then we see this little kid with his dad, and Barry cannot save the dad, but he saves the kid. Then in this alternate universe, we see the same father and son, dying by Zod, and then nothing. He never gets the redemption from that. Well, they set up the redemption. Doesn't matter.
It's a different universe, so who cares?
But then why even show it? You know what I mean? Like, why show those two characters again if you weren't going to have one of them make the like? It's like showing a gun and then never using it. You know?
I think. Oh God, I'm not going to defend this movie. I think it's because that's how bad old Barry is making this situation. Is that even the one thing he wanted to redeem, young Barry can't even do that because old Barry is there messing everything up.
I also like the implication that, God, apparently I love things about this movie, that the reason why young Barry is like this and is more reckless and more careless and goofier is because he still has his mom. Not that he's a worse person, but that because he still has his mother, he hasn't actually dealt with loss. So life is not that serious to him. Whereas for older Barry, it is because he experienced a loss. Now, that makes a monster out of the Barry that we've come to know from these other movies, because if that's the case, why wasn't he serious in those? But I like that idea.
Half-baked.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which I think applies to this movie.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to leave.
Well, at least like a cookie dough is good half-baked, but
unfortunate. Maybe you guys felt differently from us. Let us know your thoughts about The Flash. Clearly, a lot of people also enjoyed the movie. So if you want to offer your your opinion, please do feel free. We are open to that. If you're interested in hearing more from us, then you can do so by checking us out all over the internet. If you're watching this on YouTube, we have an incredible back catalog of episodes that you can check out. If you're listening to this on podcast hosting platforms, there's also a huge backlog. So take your pick. We go live every single Saturday at 10:15 a.m. Eastern for our main show. That's where we talk about comics. That's where we talk about the news of the comics and film industry as it relates to comics. So we covered every step of the way of the Flash's production on our main show, things of that nature. Thursdays on Pals Pulls, that's our comics review show. So that's where we take 5 books that released that week and we dissect them and break them down. So if you're into things like that, you have a home here. Check us out on Discord as well. We've got a link to that in the description. Everything else at the Comics Pals. Thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time, take care, guys.
See you next film.